Captain James Maverick Reese stood at rigid attention as the alien delegation entered the conference room. The Zorgacs were an impressive species, 7 feet tall, barrel-chested, with scaly green skin and eyes that gleamed with intelligence. Maverick knew that the Zorgacs' advanced technology had allowed them to conquer a sizable portion of the galaxy. And now, the humans were here to challenge them. Captain Reese, Ambassador Zoltar said, his voice a low rumble. "Your proposal is most unusual, a simulated combat scenario, with your forces against ours." Maverick nodded. "We believe it could serve to strengthen the bond between our species, a friendly competition, to learn from one another." Zoltar's eyes narrowed. "And what could my warriors possibly learn from yours? By all metrics, human technology and military might are centuries behind the Zorgacs." "Then you should have no concerns about accepting our challenge," Maverick replied, keeping his tone even, "unless you doubt your own capabilities." The ambassador hissed, a sign of irritation. "Very well, human. We accept, but do not be surprised when your forces are swiftly crushed." Maverick allowed himself a small smile. "I think you'll find we're full of surprises, Ambassador." As the Zorgacs delegation filed out, Maverick turned to his second-in-command, Lieutenant Sarah Phoenix Hawkins. "Assemble the team," he ordered. "Best of the best. Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, whoever we need. I want our top operators for this mission." Phoenix nodded crisply. "Yes, sir. I assume we're not planning on holding back." "Not a chance," Maverick said, his jaw set with determination. "It's time we show the galaxy what humanity is capable of." 3 weeks later, Maverick and his hand-picked team of Special Forces operatives arrived on Zorgax Prime. The alien world was a marvel of advanced engineering, with towering cities that glittered beneath a lavender sky. But the humans weren't here to sightsee. They were here to win. As the squad assembled in the hangar bay, checking weapons and gear, Maverick gathered them for one final briefing. "Listen up," he said, his voice cutting through the nervous chatter. "I know the odds seem stacked against us. The Zorgacs have numbers and technology on their side, but we have something they don't: human ingenuity, grit, and a stubborn refusal to lose." He met the eyes of each soldier in turn. "The simulation starts in 1 hour. Give them hell." Dismissed. The team shouted their assent, a chorus of "Kuya," echoing through the hangar. Maverick allowed himself a moment to feel the weight of the challenge ahead. Then he pushed the doubts away. Time to show the aliens what humanity was made of. The simulation begins. The simulated battlefield was a marvel of Zorgax technology, a vast holographic arena that could mimic any terrain, weather conditions, or urban environment. As Maverick and his team strode onto the simulated city street, they couldn't help but be impressed. Until they saw their opposition, a legion of Zorgax warriors, each clad in advanced exosuits that augmented their already formidable strength and speed. They carried plasma rifles and pulse grenades, equipment that far outclassed the humans' ballistic weapons and conventional gear. "We're seriously outgunned here, Cap," Phoenix muttered, eyeing the aliens warily. Maverick just smiled. "Outgunned, but not outmatched. Stick to the plan." The rules of the simulated combat were simple. Each side had a flag to protect in their base. The goal was to capture the enemy's flag while defending your own. Eliminations could be achieved through non-lethal shots that would trigger a participant's suit to lock up, simulating death. The Zorgax commander, a scared veteran named Krazer, sneered at the humans across the battlefield. "You have one chance to surrender with dignity," he called out. Maverick's response was to raise his rifle and put a round straight through the Zorgax flag. All hell broke loose. The aliens opened fire with a barrage of plasma bolts, forcing the humans to scramble for cover behind burned-out vehicles and crumbling walls. The human weapons seemed pitifully ineffective against the Zorgax exosuits, the bullets sparking off the advanced armor. "We need a new plan. Fast," Phoenix yelled, ducking as a pulse grenade detonated nearby. Maverick gritted his teeth, mind racing. Then he keyed his comm. Sniper team, find high ground. Plasma's fast, but it still drops over distance. Engage at long range. In a distant tower, two human marksmen began picking off Zorgak's warriors with well-aimed shots. The aliens faltered, surprised by the sudden losses. Maverick saw his chance. Phoenix, take your squad and flank left. Rig the buildings along the way. We'll flush them into a kill box. As Phoenix and her demo experts peeled off, Maverick rallied the rest of the team. Suppressing fire, he ordered, laying down a hail of rounds. Push forward. Under the cover of the sniper team and Maverick's assault, the humans advanced, leapfrogging between cover. The Zorgaks fell back, their rigid formation crumbling. Krasor roared with anger, trying to rally his troops. But the humans had gained momentum. Phoenix's squad emerged from a side street. The Zorgaks suddenly caught between two fires. And then the buildings started to explode. Phoenix had rigged the structures along the Zorgaks' escape route with demo charges. The aliens were trapped, disoriented, as the city block collapsed around them. In the chaos, Maverick saw his opening. He sprinted for the Zorgaks base, a reckless charge that caught the aliens off guard. Plasma bolts sizzled past him, but he dodged and weaved, his eyes locked on the prize. With a final dive, Maverick snatched the Zorgaks flag and rolled to his feet. He raised the glowing banner high, a triumphant grin on his face. "Round one to the humans," he declared. The Zorgaks stood in stunned silence. Then Krasor threw down his weapon in disgust. "You fight without honor," he snarled. "This victory means nothing." But as the simulation faded and the human team gathered around their cheering captain, it was clear that the Zorgaks' confidence had been shaken. The humans had drawn first blood, but the real battle was just beginning. Humans unleash unconventional tactics. The Zorgaks were quick to adapt. In the next round of simulated combat, they dispersed their forces, deploying drones and automated turrets to cover their flanks. The humans' previous tactics of flanking and demolitions were met with swift counterattacks, the aliens showing a new level of flexibility. Maverick and his team were pinned down, unable to advance without being cut to pieces by the Zorgaks' coordinated fire. "They're learning," Phoenix growled, ducking back into cover as a drone strafed their position. Maverick nodded, his mind racing. "Time to get unconventional," he said. "Patch me through to JSOC." Moments later, a familiar voice crackled over the comm. "This is Colonel Harris. We've been monitoring your progress, Captain. What do you need?" "Chaos," Maverick replied with a grim smile. "Load up the SIOPS package. Let's show these aliens what psychological warfare looks like." The request was unorthodox, but so was the entire situation. The Joint Special Operations Command had anticipated the need for unique strategies against the Zorgaks. As the combat simulation resumed, the battlefield suddenly filled with eerie sounds and unsettling visuals. Human snipers, cloaked in adaptive camouflage, seemed to appear and disappear at will, their shots coinciding with bursts of discordant noise that set the Zorgaks on edge. Holographic projections of human soldiers flickered in and out of existence, drawing the aliens' fire and sowing confusion. The Zorgaks' communications were flooded with a barrage of contradictory orders and unsettling images, their command structure fracturing under the psychological onslaught. Amidst the chaos, Maverick led a daring infiltration mission. His team slipped past the distracted Zorgaks lines, planting EMP charges at key locations. With a synchronized detonation, the aliens' advanced tech suddenly went dark, their exosuits and drones failing as the electromagnetic pulse washed over them. The Zorgaks were thrown into disarray, their technological advantage negated. The humans pressed forward, engaging in vicious close-quarters combat. Here, the humans' extensive training in hand-to-hand fighting and raw tenacity shone through. Maverick found himself face to face with Krasor, the Zorgaks' commander. The alien's exosuit was dead, but he was still a formidable opponent, his natural strength and combat prowess making him a match for the human captain. They clashed in a brutal melee, trading blows that would have been lethal outside the simulation. Crazer's claws raked across Maverick's armor, seeking a weakness, while Maverick retaliated with precise strikes honed by years of training. In the end, it was Maverick's indomitable will that prevailed. He battered through Crazer's defenses, landing a final, crushing blow that sent the alien commander sprawling. Around them, the battle was turning. The Zorgax, their equipment useless and their command in shambles, were falling back. The humans, battered but unbroken, rallied for a final push. As the simulation ended, the Zorgax flag was once again in human hands. Maverick stood tall, his team gathering around him in triumph. Crazer, defeated and humiliated, could only look on in disbelief. "What manner of warriors are you?" he demanded. Maverick met the alien's gaze unflinchingly. "We're human," he said simply. "We adapt, we improvise, and we never give up." The implications were clear. The Zorgax had underestimated their opponents, and it had cost them dearly. The simulated battles were exposing weaknesses they had never considered, challenging their preconceptions about warfare and the nature of strength. As the humans celebrated their hard-fought victory, there was a sense that the tide was turning. The Zorgax would not make the same mistakes twice. The final confrontation was coming, and it would test both sides to their limits. The final battle. The final round of the simulated combat was upon them. Maverick and his team knew that the Zorgax would be pulling out all the stops, deploying every tactic and technological advantage. They had to secure victory. The arena this time was a sprawling industrial complex, a labyrinth of warehouses, factories, and towering smokestacks. The humans had barely entered the simulation when they were met with a withering barrage of plasma fire. The Zorgax had learned from their previous defeats. They had upgraded their exosuits with advanced shielding that could deflect the humans' EMP weapons. They had also developed countermeasures for the psychological warfare tactics, their communication systems now hardened against intrusion. Maverick and his team found themselves on the back foot, forced to take cover as the aliens advanced relentlessly. Snipers were quickly pinned down, their adaptive camouflage useless against the Zorgax's new sensor arrays. As the battle raged, the humans were pushed further and further back. They fought with desperate intensity, making the aliens pay for every inch of ground. But it wasn't enough. Phoenix took a glancing hit from a plasma bolt, her armor sizzling as she went down. Maverick dragged her to safety, but the situation was grim. They were running out of options and running out of time. Crazor and his elite guard were closing in, their weapons blazing. Maverick knew that if they reached the human flag, it was all over. In that moment, with his team battered and the odds stacked against them, Maverick made a decision. He would not go quietly into the night. He would not let the Zorgax have their victory without a fight. "Phoenix," he said, his voice calm despite the chaos around them. "Take the team and fall back to the flag. Fortify the position and hold the line. I'll buy you as much time as I can." Phoenix's eyes widened. "Cap, no. We're not leaving you behind." Maverick's smile was grim. "That's an order, Lieutenant. Get our people out of here." With a final nod, Phoenix rallied the team and began a fighting retreat. Maverick watched them go, then turned to face the oncoming Zorgax alone. He had one last trick up his sleeve, an experimental weapon, a high-yield plasma grenade that the R&D boys had cooked up just for this mission. It was untested, volatile, and just might save the day. Maverick primed the grenade and charged forward, a one-man assault against the Zorgax line. Plasma bolts sizzled past him as he dodged and weaved, closing the distance with reckless determination. Crazor saw him coming and bellowed a challenge. The Zorgax commander leveled his rifle, aiming for a killing shot. But Maverick was faster. With a final, Herculean effort, he leaped forward and slammed the plasma grenade onto Crazor's exosuit. The alien's eyes widened in shock and fear. The grenade detonated with a blinding flash. A wave of searing plasma engulfed Maverick and Krezor, the explosion ripping through the Zorgak's ranks like a tidal wave. When the smoke cleared, Maverick was down, his armor shattered, and his body still. But the Zorgak's advance had been halted, their line in disarray. In the distance, Phoenix and the team fought like demons, rallying around their fallen captain's sacrifice. They held the line, they held the flag, and as the final seconds of the simulation ticked away, they emerged victorious. But the cost had been high. As the virtual world faded, and the humans gathered around Maverick's unmoving form, they knew that nothing would ever be the same. They had won, but at what price? Pyrrhic victory. The aftermath of the simulated battle was somber. The human team, battered and bruised, gathered in the Zorgak's command center. They had achieved their objective, proving that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. But the price had been high. Maverick was in critical condition, his body broken by the final, desperate assault. The Zorgak's medics, to their credit, were doing everything they could to keep him alive. But the prognosis was grim. As the team awaited word on their captain's fate, they were approached by Ambassador Zoltar. The alien leader's demeanor was subdued, a far cry from the arrogance he had displayed at the start of the competition. "Your captain's sacrifice was remarkable," Zoltar said. "He fought with a courage and determination that I have rarely seen." Phoenix, her eyes red-rimmed and her fists clenched, could only nod. "That's who he is," she said softly. "That's who we all are." Zoltar regarded the humans thoughtfully. "I see that now. Your species, your way of war, it is unlike anything we have encountered. You adapt, you innovate, you fight with a tenacity that defies logic." He extended a clawed hand. "The Zorgak's have much to learn from humanity. I would like to propose a new alliance, a sharing of knowledge and resources for the betterment of both our peoples." Phoenix hesitated, then reached out and grasped the alien's hand. "Maverick would want that," she said. He believed in building bridges, not walls. As the two leaders shook hands, a ripple of excitement passed through the command center. On a nearby monitor, a familiar figure stirred. Maverick, his body encased in a web of Zorgak's medical technology, opened his eyes. The team rushed to his side, their relief and joy palpable. Maverick managed a weak smile. "Did we win?" he asked, his voice a hoarse whisper. Phoenix laughed through her tears. "Yeah, Cap, we won, but don't ever scare us like that again." In the days that followed, as Maverick began the long road to recovery, the implications of the humans' victory began to spread. The galactic community, once dismissive of the upstart species, now looked upon humanity with a new respect. The Zorgak's, true to their word, became humanity's staunchest allies. The technological and cultural exchange that followed ushered in a new era of prosperity and understanding. But for Maverick and his team, the true victory was more personal. They had faced the impossible and emerged unbroken. They had shown the galaxy the unquenchable spirit that defined their species. They were human, and they would never stop fighting for what they believed in. As Maverick looked out over the stars from his hospital bed, he knew that his journey was far from over. There would be new challenges, new enemies to face, but he also knew that he would not face them alone. He had his team, his friends, his brothers and sisters in arms. Together, they could overcome anything. Together, they were unstoppable. The end.